toy sector, which was deemed to be one of the sectors which would have received a PLI boost or a PLI incentive, or could have been likely included in the existing PLI scheme, will have to stare at perhaps another couple of months in order for that to happen, because the government is now
stating... Or perhaps not,
or perhaps never, we never know. But up until 12th of January is the date where existing PLI scheme, the PLI scheme which was launched in the budget of 21-22, of over 1.95 lakh crore rupees, covering 14 key sectors in India, will not be extended. That is the message coming in from the government.
So what DPIIT has said clearly is that right now PLI for the toy sector is not on the table. However, DPIIT for some reason continues to be very bullish on India's toy sector. If you look at the overall global toy economy, China and Vietnam continue to dominate toy manufacturing. We were hoping and we were betting, in fact, on the fact that in the China plus one scenario, in the China zero COVID policy emerging out of zero COVID, not being able to fire its economy on all cylinders, we were hoping that a very, very critical sector like toys, which is a growing market across the world, should be incentivized by the government. And that, in fact, was also the demand from MSMEs, which are in the toy industry, manufacturing toys for the domestic market, for the global market in India. And unfortunately, it seems that the government is unlikely to consider PLI for the toy sector.
Just as
now, I mean, DPIIT has said it's not on the table. So, you know, let's assume that discussions have happened and enough and more, you know, data has been crunched to realize or to understand that there is no need for a PLI, though I beg to disagree with that hypothesis, because even if you look at the other 14 sectors where we have PLI as a scheme for some reason has not taken off. Now, the biggest challenge with PLI is that anytime you incentivize a foreign player to come and set up manufacturing in India, there are very, very strict localization you know, requirements. That 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, there's a roadmap where you localize your procurement and you localize your manufacturing and all components that go into the manufacturing process, which I think at some level is fair for employment creation in India, for overall the MSME sector to develop in India. But at the same time, it is not something that should happen at the cost of quality. Now, coming back specifically to the toy sector, I think, you know, there is a multi-pronged problem that India is facing. On the one hand, India is not yet, for whatever reason, still, you know, a manufacturing destination, contract manufacturing destination for any of the global brands. Which are the global brands? I think the leading global brands in the world are Hasbro, Lego, Metal, which makes Hot Wheels, and Barbie. You know, India doesn't make any of those toys. There is no contract manufacturing of any of these global brands happening in India. On the other end of the spectrum, India does not have a toy brand of its own to, you know, boast about, either domestically or internationally. You go to the shelves of toy stores, including Hamleys, etc. You will either find those very expensive, but very cheap looking plastic toys which are made in China or Vietnam coming into Indian shelves, or you have these global brands which in any case continue to manufacture. Let's say Metal continues to manufacture in China and Vietnam, in addition to Malaysia, where it is headquartered. Lego continues to manufacture in Denmark, right? So you have these global brands which are dominating the shelves, and you pay a premium to purchase those products because there are import duties, etc. on these global brands because they are not being manufactured in India. And at the same time, you have these cheap branded stroke unbranded, you know, good looking but low quality Chinese toys and Vietnamese toys dominating Indian markets. And Indian toy makers are unable to compete in this extremely high quality and extremely low cost spectrum. So some sort of an initiative by the government to make sure that India's own toy story takes off needs to be done. Absolutely. Is PLI the right way or not to do it? I don't know. But you have to incentivize the toy sector financially as well as by very, very stringent quality control mechanisms to ensure that the toy sector is able to compete globally, which right now, unfortunately, it isn't.
It isn't, even if it's the fastest growing, one of the fastest growing sectors in India. But, you know, as far as the commentary from DPIIT is concerned at this point, they said a PLI will not be open to any sector apart from the 14 existing sectors up until a point where we are able to analyze the utilization of the existing PLI
which is likely
scheme,
to happen on the
12th of January. But apart from that, you know, last week of December, when DPIIT sort of gave a status check on PLI schemes, it said that 95,000 crore worth investments have been made in India. under PLI scheme, so it's not so much as a failure, and perhaps a further status check will give us as to what the current sort of investments have been when it comes to PLI, but also highlighted in the same breath that the only sectors perhaps that have done well are electronics. Automobiles, pharmaceuticals. So those 2 or 3 key sectors have been in focus as far as of the total 14 sectors which are currently open to PLI. But you're right to mention, we don't know if PLI route is the right route for toy manufacturing in India, and if not, what other sort of incentives could toy makers be looking at?
So Shweta, if we were to extend this discussion beyond toys for just a minute, PLI on the face of it sounds really exciting. 2 lakh crore rupees outlay from the government of India, incentivizing industry by pure cash-based investments to set up manufacturing shops in India. I think the whole world should queue up to take that on. Why is the world still shy of taking on that large allocation of 1.97 lakh crore rupees and only 95,000 crore rupees of utilization? Obviously, the roadmap from the time you decide to seek that investment, you qualify for that investment, you're applicable, you qualify for that investment, and then the norms of localization that kick in.
The domestic value addition norms, which are very difficult to meet.
Exactly. So maybe some sort of tinkering there would be required. Absolutely. Extend that runway from 5 years, make it 10 years, make it, whatever. I think for different industry, different benchmarks could be set. But on the face of it, it's a very lucrative scheme. You set up a plant, the government is going to compensate in almost equal measure, which the government has done in the case of semiconductors, for example. 50-50. You put in 50 bucks, the government of India is going to put 50 bucks and your factory is up and running. Why wouldn't you take it? You wouldn't take it because down the road, there are challenges that you don't want to undertake right now.
Absolutely. And